What's going on YouTube? I'm Andrew Crawford, the HD Legend. Yeah, boy, the GOAT. Not the GOAT, but I look like a GOAT. Close enough, am I right? I think I'm right. And today on the channel, I will be going over my top 10 favorite NBA players. These are not people I consider to be the top 10 greatest. These are not players that are on my GOAT list. Well, there are like 3 or 4 that are in my top 10 of all time. But these are just my favorite players to watch, and that since I've been watching basketball, I've really enjoyed watching. And if I was a good enough athlete, I would have modeled how I play after most of these players. That being said, let's get into it. Number 10, probably the most odd name on this list, Chris the Birdman Andersen. I'm a Miami Heat fan. I started watching in 2010, 2011, so I watched 2 years before Chris Andersen got there, and I watched his time with Miami. Chris Andersen, has a very similar play style to Dennis Rodman when you think about it. Both just bring high energy, crash the boards extremely hard, very good on the defensive end of the ball, and never really needed for scoring. And that's not even a debate. That's just all facts. But Chris Andersen was just someone I loved watching because he really helped Miami through the playoffs in 2013, which again, as a Heat fan, I have a lot of respect for Birdman. I consider him to be a very underrated player, but that's just my opinion. That being said, let's move on to the next one. Number 9, Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler, like I said, I'm a Heat fan. But over the past, he got drafted in 2011, so 12 years, I've got to watch him play either against Miami or in a Heat jersey, and he has a very unique thing called killer instinct, where he wants the ball in his hands in clutch times. Sometimes it just doesn't go his way. Look at this past year's conference finals. I may or may not have said some words that I'm not very proud of. Definitely did. But Jimmy is a player that he's elite on the defensive side of the ball, and he, in my opinion, has what it takes to be the best player on a championship team, or had. He's getting up there in age, so probably not anymore. But I consider Jimmy a great player, and yeah, he's number 9 for me. Number 8, Dwight Howard. I'm going to say something about Dwight Howard that a lot of people disagree with. And if you disagree, you're wrong. Dwight Howard would have been up there center-wise with some of the greats. Dwight would have been probably a top 10 center, maybe even top 5 center of all time, had he never got hurt and had Kobe never been a prick to him. Dwight was elite in Orlando, elite on both sides of the ball. He led a dog water Magic team to the finals, beating LeBron, robbing us of a LeBron-Kobe finals. But Dwight is definitely he deserves his credit, and people don't give it to him. It's disrespectful. I think Dwight should be labeled at least a top 20 center without his prime years. With a full prime that he should have had, he would have been a top 5 center, and I believe that with everything in me. I don't think he would have passed Shaq, Kareem, or Hakeem, but he might have passed Bill and Wilt. That's all I'm going to say about it. Number 7, the greatest power forward to ever touch a basketball, Tim Duncan. again, I didn't start watching basketball till the twilight of Timmy D's career, arguably. So I didn't get to see 4 of his 5 championships. But even in those years that I did get to watch him, he was an absolute animal. And then I go back and watch his highlights of him in his prime. And there's a reason his nickname was the Big Fundamental, or Mr. Fundamentals. I think it was the Big Fundamental. He was one of the most fundamentally sound basketball players to ever touch a court. Again, the greatest power forward to ever touch a basketball over Kevin Garnett, Dirk Nowitzki, Karl Malone, all of them. Tim's number 1. And that is some very elite company to be in front of. And I just loved watching him play because, again, he crashed the boards. He was get down and dirty, get gritty with it, he was the one that did the stuff that doesn't show up on the stat sheets. And that's one of the most important players on the court, and they never get their credit. Number 6, Mr. Ray Allen. This one should be obvious. Again, as I've announced, I'm a Heat fan. Got 3 Heat jerseys just hanging up behind my cap and gown. He hit the biggest shot in my franchise's history and one of the best shots in the finals ever. He definitely did a lot to help LeBron win a ring. He did not save his legacy. LeBron's 16 in the fourth quarter would heavily argue that. But Ray's shot is iconic, above and beyond. And Ray as a player, the second greatest shooter of all time. In some arguments, third, I say second. Ray's that man. Ray was a part of that Celtics Big Three with KG and Pierce. He was great in Seattle, great in Milwaukee. Everywhere Ray went, he brought one thing that any team in today's league needs: 3-point shooting. And I think if he was to play today, he wouldn't get major minutes, but you put him in if you needed a clutch bucket, because that's what Ray does. Number 5, Chris Bosh. The first impression I had as a new NBA fan was Chris Bosh's, where he threw his arms down and, screamed, and he looked like a literal dinosaur. And I was like, this man's intense. And he is intense. He is a very intense player, a very high energy player. And in my opinion, this is my opinion, he helped Dirk revolutionize the whole big men can actually do more than stand under the basket and dunk. They can shoot threes too. He helped Dirk with that. And I really think, again, as far as a big man goes, he's Toronto's best big they've ever had. 5 or 4. I think he's better than Siakam. I think he's the best 4 or 5 Toronto's ever had. He's up there for Miami. And, again, a player I think criminally underrated, and I think he deserves his flowers. Number 4, Derrick Rose. I'm going to say something that won't set right with a Curry fan or a Magic fan. If Derrick Rose never got hurt, he is undisputedly the best point guard of all time. I said it, and I stand by that statement. It wasn't even his athleticism. He has shown glimpses since those injuries that he can still be that man. The man had 50 post-ACL tears, post all those knee surgeries. This man gave Utah 50 because Utah decided to waive this man. If Derrick Rose never tore his ACLs and blew his knees completely out. The point guard argument looks a lot different, and Steph, my friend, you are not number 2 anymore. You would have been 3. I firmly believe that, and the only people that would disagree just straight up don't like Derrick Rose and refuse to respect his game. Number 3, the best center to ever touch a basketball and the most dominant center to ever touch a basketball, Shaquille O'Neal. Did he hop teams? Yeah. Does he have rings to show for it, though? Yeah. Did he help my favorite player of all time win his first ring? Yeah. Did he carry Kobe to several of his? I wouldn't say carried, but I would say was by far and away the best player on that team. And when he left, it gave Kobe the opportunity to mature as a player. And if Shaq would have went back to LA for the 2 rings that Kobe would get Finals MVP for, I don't think those Celtics series are as close as they were. And Kobe said it best: if Shaq had the work ethic, he'd be the greatest of all time. Like, even today, you could put 7'2", probably about 400 pounds at this point, Shaq under the goal. You're not stopping him. He's a big man. I firmly believe that Shaq is the best center to ever touch a ball, though, and he's my favorite center of all time. Number 2, the man I find to be the greatest basketball player to ever play the game, LeBron James. Well, my full argument is LeBron and Jordan are the top 2. I don't care about your order, but once you start throwing other players over LeBron or in between LeBron and Jordan, that's when you get very wrong and your basketball opinions are no longer valid in my mind. LeBron, I think, is above Jordan. But if you put Jordan above LeBron, I'm not going to argue with you. LeBron, now the all-time leading scorer. The only person on the top 5 in scoring list to also be top 5 in assists and top 10 in assists, let alone. And 4 rings has spent, literally, when you look at it, he's been in the NBA for 20 years. 10 of those years, he was in the finals. That is a staggering 50% of his career, and it could be higher come this June because I think this Lakers team can play with anyone when they're healthy. Has spent half of his career in the NBA Finals. Sure, he lost 6 of them. But I know a certain Bengals fan that said the fact that they made it to the Super Bowl was enough. And he did. He took 2 Cavs teams that had absolutely no right to be there to the finals. 2007 and 2018. Those Cavs teams had 0 right to be in the finals. The year that Cleveland realistically should have beat Golden State, 2015, Kyrie and Kevin Love both got hurt, and he took bench warmers, and him and a bunch of bench warmers took the Warriors to 6. The year they beat Golden State in the finals, they came back from down 3-1, and Curry went and recruited KD, and so was 2 of the most boring years in basketball history for me. The other 2 years, again, they had Kevin Durant, and they rightfully obliterated LeBron. Like I said, anyways, this isn't a GOAT debate. I'm just saying, LeBron is my second favorite player of all time. I definitely think he's the GOAT. And again, as a Heat fan, helped my team win 2 rings. Can't be mad. Number 1, Dwayne Wade. I find Dwayne Wade to be the 3rd best at his position all time, and that is with that is only behind Jordan and Kobe, when those are the only two players at your position that you're behind, buddy, I think Dwayne Wade did something pretty right. Actually, yeah, he did. As a rookie, drugged the Heat to the finals. In 06, took Shaq, Alonzo Mourning, and Gary Payton, three players that sound great to have, but were old as dirt at that point, to the finals, and won. Averaged an absurd stat line. I think it was like 35, 3, and 5 or something like that. And beat Prime Dirk. Yeah. He did something right, alright. And like I said, a Heat fan, the franchise player of Miami is my favorite player. That shouldn't be a shocker to anyone. I could see how it would be. But with that being said, that's my list. And that's the video. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you love it? Tell me about it in the comments below. Unless you hated it, because, again, don't need you all coming in here with that negative energy. If you do, I will block you from my channel. I don't know if you can do that on YouTube, but I'll find a way to. Again, tell me about it in the comments below. Who are your 10 favorite players of all time? Send this to your mom, dad, aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa. Be like, hey, a kid that talks about wrestling too much is talking about basketball. Again, these are my favorite players. These are not the players I consider to be the top 10 greatest. If it was, obviously Jordan would have been here. Obviously, a lot of other players would have been here that weren't. Stay tuned, because I will be trying to do more NBA and music-based content, trying to be a little more diverse, because I know some people don't love wrestling and want to hear me talk about it every video I make. So Friday will probably be the days I try to set aside for wrestling, and Mondays will be NBA or music content. I'll alternate probably. So next Monday, I'll probably start my Morgan Wallen album review, which has been on my to-do list for a while, and I'm really lazy and just never did it. But until next time, I'm Andrew Crawford, and I will see you soon.